The Dark Souls Remaster is now fast approaching its May 25th launch, but a question now hangs over its PC release. News has recently broken that owners of the original Prepare to Die edition on Steam get a 50% discount on the new remaster version. It's an interesting twist. Paying half the price to upgrade is a nice gesture from Bandai Namco and one I didn't expect. However, 6 years since that original PC release, to what extent is that upgrade, and indeed the cost, worthwhile to owners of the original? Bearing in mind mods like DSFix or SweetFX already enhance the PC game, the official re-release has a lot to match. A quick recap then. The DS mod in particular was a reaction to the Prepare to Die edition's missing features, which persist even to this day. Notoriously, the PC version lets you change the output resolution, but natively, it's still only running at 1024x720, the same as on console. Add in the fact it's capped at 30 FPS with poorly implemented mouse and keyboard support, and the dismay back in 2012 is understandable. Compared to Dark Souls 3, where From Software's proficiency in PC conversions has grown hugely, the first outing was a massive disappointment for fans. Coming to the rescue then, DSFix smartly worked around its limits to let you play at any resolution and 60 FPS. Eventually, this injector mod added options for anti-aliasing, depth of field, anisotropic filtering and screen space ambient occlusion. Factor in the numerous fan-made texture mods for Dark Souls on PC since then, and it's a transformed experience to the one the developer originally intended. The catch? Well, not everything is perfectly optimized with these mods. To this day, the game struggles to run at even a smooth 1080p at 60 frames per second on modern PCs. Check this out, I've only used the DSFix mod here to boost the res to 1080p with a cap at 60 FPS, and even in that case, my GTX 1080 Ti paired with a Ryzen Threadripper 1950X couldn't stand the sight of the Asylum Demon, causing drops to the mid 40 FPS region. It's certainly playable at 60 most of the way, but there's a sense the old PC version wasn't built with this in mind. Equally, there are a myriad of glitches tied to the game running above the intended 30 FPS, and anomalies, such as cutscenes that still run at 30 FPS. Modding the original game isn't a watertight solution then, but it's the best we've had until this point. Fast forward to 2018 and there's a new hope. Polish developer Q-Lock is understood to be at the helm of this remaster on console and PC. As we now know, PS4 Pro offers a higher resolution of 3200x1800 with 60 FPS as a target. In fact, the opening areas run beautifully at 60, and while I haven't seen Blighttown yet, it does show the team is willing to optimise for the higher refresh on multi-core CPUs. For the PC remaster, which we haven't seen yet, the logical step is finally offering players full control of resolutions up to 4K and to match the refresh of modern displays. But is there more to the remaster than a res and framerate boost? For the sake of comparison today, I've got the new PS4 Pro version shown on the right at 1800p. Meanwhile, on the left is the vanilla PC version with DSFix enabled. Resolution is set to 3840x2160, the frame rate is capped at 60, and with the mod's VSSAO shading, improved texture filtering and depth of field resolution bumped to 1080p. Inevitably, that native 4K picture with DSFix looks much crisper next to our PS4 Pro remaster footage running as it is at 1800p. In terms of image quality, we have to give it the benefit of the doubt for now. A native 4K is something the remaster on PC could match down the line. Now, there are parallels between the two, certainly in the way each improves anisotropic filtering over the vanilla PC version. Plus, while ambient occlusion isn't as thick as the form I'm using in the DSFix version here, the remaster still uses its own variant to great effect. The fact is though, and the point of this analysis, is that the new release goes much further than any mod. For example, it's not just the shade beneath the grass that's changed. Unlike the mod, plants now animate with a gentle sway, and foliage around the Firelink Shrine area actually billow in the wind. It's no longer static. With or without mods, there's simply no way the Prepare to Die edition can match this. It's only by working with the codebase that the remaster is making a step forward. Extra bushes are brought into the scene too, and you can even catch a cloud of smoke swirling around the bonfire. They're subtle touches, but clearly visual tweaks only a developer can make. Next, there's the new effects. The updated volumetric fog on doorways does use a more complex shading technique that, ultimately, isn't an option on any mod out there. The remaster is bringing something new to the table in this sense, and likewise for the new alpha and particles used for dust. Notably, bosses like the Red Wyvern crashing down on the bridge leave a more complex detailed burst of alpha in the remaster. These don't feel bolted on, they're up to par with the Dark Souls 3 quality of each effect and still blend well into the original. Lighting quality is also inimitable in the remaster, simply due to the use of a revised model. Light bounce obeys a new logic here. Some scenes look better on the original, others more so in the new version. Two good examples occur in the opening asylum actually. The new shader work on a knight's armour looks simplified next to the original running DSFix, despite the same assets being used across the character and nearby textures. But once we get moving, the specular mapping on walls comes to life more vividly in the remaster, whereas it looks dull and lifeless in the original. It's a mixed bag then, but on balance, Lord Ran is still recognisable. Likewise for the reworked bloom effect on lamps, even with the SweetFX mod running on the original game with the pseudo HDR, it's impossible to exactly mimic what the remaster is doing in its approach to lighting. For purists, it'd be preferable to have access to the original lighting, effects and shaders, but the new release holds up nicely overall. You'll also notice full screen motion blur is forced on the PS4 Pro Remaster too, explaining why it can look a little blurry in motion, whereas the original code only uses per object blur on character movement. Fortunately for the PC remaster, we are promised a toggle for the blur effect if you're not keen. Indeed, the graphics menu of Dark Souls Remastered on PC lets you access a few new options too. There's two anti-aliasing settings for FXAA and temporal anti-aliasing. Plus, new to the PC options menu is a toggle for depth of field and one for ambient occlusion. As a huge Dark Souls fan myself, the remaster's real draw isn't solely about its visual improvements. Attention is thankfully being paid to quality of life improvements as well, seemingly based on feedback. In gameplay for example, you can now switch covenants at bonfires, rather than tracking down different characters to make that change. Network play also gets a revamp. PvP games now borrow Dark Souls 3's password system, and allow up to 6 players online, rather than 4 of the original. All of these tweaks go far beyond the scope of the original, even with the helping hand of the best mods on the scene. Bundle in tweaks to the menus, potential bug fixes, and optimizations for modern PCs, and this should stand as the definitive version. All told, the half-price discount is a nice gesture, but there is a small twist. If you'd like to still access the Prepare to Die edition already on Steam, just for posterity, you'll have to get in quick. On the 8th of May, it will be removed from the Steam store, and replaced by this remastered version on the 25th of May. There's no problem if you have the Prepare to Die edition on your Steam account already, you can always access it, download and play it from that point onwards. Supposing you haven't bought the original though, then you simply won't be able to after that date. The remastered edition will become the only entry on the store. For most people it won't matter, it's more a point of interest for the most ardent fans. And based on the quality of the PS4 Pro version at least, the remaster is shaping up to be all you'll need. So back to the original question, is it worth it? There's still a lot of unknowns on how the whole package holds up, but for newcomers or returning fans, this is looking like a must-have. Based on a short sample on PS4 Pro, from the Undead Asylum right up to meeting with Solaire, the shift to an optimised 60fps is the main draw here. The same will apply to the PC remaster too, worth the price of admission alone, if optimization on modern CPUs and GPUs is improved as well. Ultimately, having a hassle-free 60fps version with access to higher resolutions and effects is what we're really clamouring for that refreshed playthrough. Anyway, that's all from me today. It's looking like one to watch on PC and will soon have access to the full game for analysis. If you want to see more coverage of the ins and outs of each version, please let me know in the comments below. Like or even subscribe if you found this video useful, and check out our Patreon at digitalfoundry.net for the original source file to this analysis. And if you want to get in touch directly, you can find me and the team on Twitter. But until next time, thanks for watching.